Hello and welcome to Business Reporter's The Best of British Business campaign. I'm Ashley Blake. A successful, growing organisation needs a fantastic workforce, sound finances, confident leadership and many more things. When it comes to finances or leadership, individuals are often expected to be members of a professional body. But when it comes to workforce management, the expectations can be much lower. And this disparity comes at a painful price. This could be mediocre performance and failing to meet targets, decreased employee well-being, low morale, and even reputational damage. So how do you keep the workforce motivated, highly skilled and successful? What does a dynamic HR and L&D professional need in order to support organisations to thrive? We're talking to Peter Cheese, Chief Executive of CIPD, the professional body for HR and people development, to find out the answers. Peter, what is the role of CIPD?
Business is fundamentally about people. And in these times of great change, where we need to understand our workforces today and in the future, the role of the CIPD is to help businesses understand all these different dimensions. And through that, of course, our fundamental focus is with business leaders, but particularly, of course, the people profession. So HR, organisation design and development, learning and development. And that's what we stand for and represent. We help to build the skills and capabilities of the people profession, all the way from qualifications through continuous professional development. We set standards, we provide content and research.
You mentioned change just then. What have been the biggest changes over the last, say, 5, 6 years?
They've been huge. A lot of people say that we're almost at an inflection point in the world of work. We saw the pandemic, for example, being a big influence on how we think about our patterns of work and the ways we work. Flexible working, hybrid working, partly working from home, partly working in an office. We're obviously seeing a growing rise of what some would describe as the disruption of technology. So technology now a very big theme in the future of work, particularly artificial intelligence. We've also seen social change. The expectations of our workforce is changing a lot, partly related to things like flexible working, but also demanding a voice and how we progress, therefore, agendas such as diversity and inclusion. But also we've got challenges around well-being. One of the things that's emerged, I think, in recent years much more strongly is this recognition that we need to support our people in work in terms of their mental, emotional and physical health and well-being. And at the heart of all of this also is what many people talk about today is organisational agility. I can't predict all of the jobs of the future and capabilities of the future, so I know that we've got to build more agile organisations. And at the heart of that are ideas like learning and development, where I can upskill and reskill my people rapidly and effectively.
So CEOs of firms, they're kind of guilty of leaving HR departments to do HR, human resources. Why is it they need professional help from the likes of you, the CIPD?
Yeah, so as you said, historically we've had HR departments and they've often done the transactional things, hiring people and bringing them into the organisation, providing some of the training, making sure they're paid fairly and properly and so on.
And they're very good at that, right?
Yes, those are the fundamentals. But what we're really trying to move towards now are what we think of as the much more strategic agendas, which I've touched on. Things like, what should the future workforce look like? What are the needs and capabilities going to be? And how do I attract and retain the people with different expectations and demands in the future from what they might have had in the past? How do I create cultures which are responsible and ethical and supportive of all the stakeholders of an organisation? And of course, how do I build the leadership capability at all levels to sustain that? There's another truism in work is that we have not done enough to train leaders and managers at all levels about their responsibility and their critical role in supporting their teams, their people. And now, of course, in a world where we're dealing with teams who are more diverse in every aspect, they're working in different ways, we need to work much harder to make sure that the leaders and managers are very much part of that equation.
So how do you fit in?
We describe our purpose as championing better work and working lives. And I think fundamentally what we have to do is to make sure that we are building work that works for everybody, that supports them, that helps them be engaged and motivated in what they do. Because ultimately these things are really important to business in terms of things like attraction and retention of the people that you need. But of course also driving things like productivity and innovation. And we know value comes from people ultimately. So and what should they be prioritising when they think about their workforce today, but also as they think about their workforce going forwards, and what skills and capabilities that they're going to need, and also what kind of organisation and operating model and culture that will get the best out of those people for the future. And I think these constructs now where we talk about businesses being part of society, being part of positive change and doing well by doing good are very powerful principles that should drive the future of organisations and the future of work.
Peter, you mentioned earlier about companies doing well by doing good. But the investors are just looking at the bottom line, surely?
Investors are understanding these things a lot more, because if you look at financial numbers and financial reporting, it's all backward looking. And a lot of what we need to understand now is about, are you building a business that is sustainable for the future? Are you investing in capabilities within your organisation? Are you building a workforce and culture that will sustain what you need to do? And are you agile and responsive to the many different changes in the working world? So from an investor perspective, but interestingly also from a regulator perspective, there's a lot more focus on, can businesses be more transparent on what they're doing? For example, in the investment in skills and capabilities of their workforce. Are they driving a culture which is inclusive and diverse? Because we know that's important in terms of attracting skills and talent, but also ensuring that we are bringing all the experiences that we need for an organisation to innovate.
So, CEO watching this, what advice would you give to them?
I think my advice would be, first of all, be curious. I mean, there's a lot going on around us, and I think part of the role of a CEO, of course, is to, they are fundamentally responsible for the strategy of their organisation. They need to understand the changing dynamics and expectations of the workforces. They need to see that people are at the very heart of the business agenda, and understand, therefore, how to develop the cultures and organisations and support that creates that environment that gets the very best out of the people, that they attract and that they retain. And if they can do those things, then they can drive very positive business outcomes. They get people who are engaged and connected, who are aligned to the purpose, who can innovate and create and bring all of their talents to work, which is what we need in every successful business.
And there's advice there from CIPD. They can pick up the phone to you, can they?
Absolutely. I mean, a big part of what we see is a huge number of people coming to our websites, accessing our content and our research, not just from within the profession, but from business leaders and line managers. Because I think another very important value that we bring is as a trusted source. And we certainly saw that during the pandemic, during COVID. We had millions of people literally coming to our websites, looking for advice and guidance on how to deal with what was a huge challenge at the time.
Peter Cheese, Chief Executive, CIPD.